grime.
Hey there, Knicks fans. How you doing? It's your boy, Jonathan Macri, with you for another episode of the Knicks Film School Podcast, coming at you after the All-Star starters have been announced. And what a surprise. Julius Randle, congratulations. Oh, no. No. Andrew, come on. Dude.
You're insane, dude. You're insane.
That would be like Crash winning Best Picture.
Oh no, that'd be worse.
Can I just do the Jack Nicholson open the envelope? Mm-hmm. Whoa, Julius. I'm sorry. Hi everybody.
Kris has no idea what movie you're referring to.
Kris, if I gave you a $1 billion to name an actor from the movie Crash, could you do it?
One guess.
Sure. I mean, it was a lot of actors and actresses in the film too. So you have a shot, I guess.
I'm about to let one fly. Hold on.
Andrew, I'm sorry if this is rough to edit. We're leaving this in. This is the cold open of the year right here.
It's totally fine. Go ahead, Kris.
What? I need to come up with something that if it's wrong is going to be like so wrong that John will melt in his.
It's $1 billion, Kris. Come on. You couldn't use $1 billion.
Robert De Niro.
No, that's actually like a fine guess, though.
That is a fine guess.
The next year he was he wasn't in a movie that won Best Picture. I was thinking he was in Departed, but different Scorsese.
Rats.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask another question that I know he doesn't know the answer to.
Joe Pesci.
No. Do you know who Ryan Phillippe is?
No.
That's not as egregious, I don't think.
No, it's not egregious.
He like Don Cheadle would have been the one to name from that movie, I think.
Oh, I know who that is.
Yeah, Don
Cheadle. That's great. Okay. Yeah. Anyway, hi everybody. Hi Andrew.
Hi John.
Hi Kris. Kris Pursiainen. Welcome aboard.
Hello, friends.
We're here to do a mailbag episode that we are sitting and recording. Well, I am somewhat delirious because it's 10 to 8 at night, and I have already taken a nap. Because that's what kind of day it's been. Kris, how you doing?
I'm excited for these post-nap Mac Randle takes. I've started classes. This is my first full week going on right now.
Second semester, sophomore year, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hasn't been
Congratulations.
The worst. Thanks, I guess. That's I guess it is something to consider like that. I don't really, I'm just kind of like existing. I'm learning Photoshop in one of my classes. I'm gonna be funny now. Start doing Knicks. Not contraptions, but like you get what I'm talking about.
Okay, I don't know.
I'm missing the word. Knicks, okay. Not creations, like kind of like haphazard creations. There's like a one word thing for that.
I have no earthly clue what you're talking about. I think you should just read the first question.
You get what I'm talking about.
What are you using? I missed the beginning of the question. What are you
talking about? Making memes.
Oh, Photoshop.
You want to go compilations? Is that the word you're thinking of?
No, it's more. There has to be like a little risk in there, like haphazard. It's like a off.
I'm going with memes.
They need to leave you back to fucking freshman year again. My God, sorry. I was told. I saw in a comment this week I needed to curse less. I'm going to try to go the whole episode without cursing. That's my vow.
All right, I'm going to go find some new questions to try to break.
All right, ask the first question. Come on.
All right, the first question is fun. We're gonna just start off and have some fun, and we're gonna do what I do best when the Knicks are. I can't curse when the Knicks are pooping on themselves publicly, which is completely ignore it. What is your take from Don Marco? He wants to know, what is your take on the Donovan Mitchell buzz? Do you think it's anything more than the typical insert random star wants to go to NY? And if you didn't see, the reason he's asking this is a report came out today where an Eastern scout said that it's like around the league. It's like the thing people say is like, oh, they're a first round exit away from him being in New York.
What was that? Is that one of those like NBA Central report things?
That's who aggregated it. That's obviously, because they'll aggregate anyone and their mother. So
now I need to look and see.
It's a real East Scout that said that though.
Where did the report generate from? Is the question.
From Rick Bucher is the one that generated it.
Okay. So I think
and there was a report a couple weeks ago that some guy from Miami was like, he wants to go to Miami or the Knicks.
Yeah, no, I remember that one. That I remember. Even in my diminished state at the moment, I remember that report. I mean, Bucher is, I don't know. What do I think about it? I mean, we've talked about this offline, right? I mean, I think if any of us, let me rephrase that. If you give me the typical names, like if you you do your like Knicks wish list of names that actually, I don't even know how to say this realistically. No, because like I don't know if any of these are realistic, but like the names we always throw around: Cat, Booker, Zion, Donovan Mitchell. Who am I missing? Am I missing anybody? Maybe I'm not missing anybody.
Shea.
Who?
Shea Gilgeous-Alexander.
Oh, Shea. I said Shea. I'm like, no. Yeah, fine. SGA. Like, I think Donovan Mitchell is the most likely of those because he plays in Utah, and I've mentioned this before. I have him on notifications. He's someone that let's just say does not take kindly to the ways of the folk over in Salt Lake City. Andrew, is that a good way to put that? You're muted. What?
I think it's not necessarily a match made in heaven, Donovan Mitchell and the population of Salt Lake City, Utah.
He, is a great community guy there. There's a lot of stuff that's come out, like,
oh, I'm sure he is.
Not the media of like stuff he's done. But then like, if you go to any of his tweets in the last 2 years about anything that's not basketball and look in the replies, it's so disgusting. Like it's so nasty.
And look, I don't want to put Salt Lake City on blast. There's
if you listen
50 major cities in the United States where that's the case, but
to a tolerable degree, like I feel like our longest running bit on our show is that like we just joke that most of our listeners are from Salt Lake City.
I don't know why you joke about that.
We always shout them out at random because we started out with the MJ documentary and we're talking about the Salt Lake City pizza. Okay. So ever since then, we just always like anytime there's like an awkward moment on the pod, Riley and I get in a big argument about Zach LaVine or something, and then the argument dies down. I'll be like, all right, well, shout out to our listeners in Salt Lake City for sticking with us.
That's actually a good bit.
That's like our longest running bit. I always laugh when SLC comes up.
So, all this is
vacation destination.
Shout out SLC, SLC Punk. There's a movie for you.
What did you just say to me? Is that a curse word?
Just let's move on. Shout out Matt Lillard. Okay. So I think, he's an obvious candidate to want to not what?
Ignore me. Go on.
He's an obvious candidate to want to move on at some point in his career. I mean, like, does anyone know what Donovan Mitchell is thinking right now? I mean, there was a report from Jalen Rose, and I had heard some similar stuff at the same time where Jalen Rose was like kind of intimating before he signed his extension that maybe he didn't sign his extension. And then he signed his extension because guess what? Money talks and bullshit walks. And like, if there's a chance for him to sign, an extension in Utah that pays him a ton of money, is he going to turn that down? Is he going to really? Because like, when's the last time? That doesn't
look
happen.
At the league right now. Look at the league right now. Look at the state of the NBA right now. Does not happen. Players are taking their money. And forcing their way out via trade later.
I'm not going to say it doesn't happen. Look, Donovan Mitchell is in a great position where he has reached that point in time that he is not Durant or Kawhi, but I think he's reached the point where he could suffer literally a season-ending injury that is potentially serious, and there would still be some team that would be willing to give him all of the money in the world. So, the notion that it's going to be about money, like, I don't know. That said, these guys they keep extending and then they figure it out later. I don't know. How aggressive is he going to be to push his way out of Utah? We have no idea. I will say this. I hate the way that team is built for the long term. The Gobert contract is a ticking time bomb. They're going to be paying that guy $40 million a year.
People need to respect him though. I think like
I respect the hell out of Rudy Gobert, but
I harp on this all the time. Yeah. No, I'm just saying, like, people say he sucks, and I'm like, all right, their perimeter defense sucks.
No, Rudy Gobert doesn't suck. Rudy Gobert is like extraordinarily valuable. It's been since Dirk, right? Since Dirk in the 2011 Mavs that we've seen a team win a championship without two elite offensive on-ball offensive players. Unless I'm just forgetting someone, but I don't think so. So they don't have that there. Like Mike Conley's, what is he, 34 years old, 35 years old, whatever the hell he is. So like, if they don't win this year, and you could argue that this year is their best chance. You don't think this year is their best chance, Chris?
Who are they going up against, man? They No,
I'm saying I'm not saying they're going to win it this year. I'm saying their chances moving forward will only diminish from here because Conley is not getting better. Bogdanovich is not getting better.
I agree. Ingles, I get it. It's just like I don't even see this year as a real chance, man.
Oh, no, I mean, that's fine. That's a personal. I'm not sure I do either, to be honest with you. I haven't really spent a lot of time thinking about it. What I will say, because it's a fact, is they don't have a big trade in them because they've already traded away picks. So again, it's not like they're a sneaky destination to get him, that second guy. So all this is to say, like, yeah, of course it makes sense that the rumors are already starting. But that's not going to be a this summer thing. Like, I don't even think that's going to be a next trade deadline thing. That's a maybe next summer thing would be my guess. I don't know.
There is a Bradley Beal Utah joke to be made. All right, next question. Ethan, aka RJ4 All-Star. How much would you re-sign Mitch for? / what would you not match in the offseason and let him walk for? I threw this in now because after this, we're going to get into the thick of it with this team. And this is my last softball to you.
What would I sign him for? Honestly, I don't. God, it's like the notion that I would just hand him the Robert Williams contract, which at a certain point I would. And for anybody who doesn't know, Rob Williams, who is Boston center, was a lot of the similar traits as Mitch. Gave him 4 for 51, I think, or 4 for 55, something. 454. Thank you. This summer, the notion that I would just hand him that, despite the fact that he's played arguably his best stretch of basketball over the last month to month and a half, I'm really just not sure that I would. He is still someone that is not an incredibly limited player, but like, you know, Benji was talking about it on the playback last night. You could still take Mitch out of a game against certain teams. Like, I do not believe, I'll put it this way. I do not believe that Mitchell Robinson is good enough to be a starting center on an NBA champion or an NBA contender. Can I throw and I know you're not going to like it, but can I throw a question? No, I'm saying you're not going to like the question, but can I throw a question in? Sure.
How much of, and this is a serious question, I'm not just like trying to bury a lead here. How much of Mitch's struggles against stretch fives that we all know about, do you think are attributable to Thibs having him play drop against them every time?
You know, my honest answer? Yeah. I don't think Mitchell Robinson thinks the game at a level where he knows exactly what he's supposed to be doing on every defensive possession. And
I think his play would reflect that take if you want to, you know, go there.
No, but I say it because I mean, we've watched enough of him to just know, like, for him to, the answer to the question is I would give him 3 for 30. I might even go 3 fully guaranteed.
I was going to say 3 for 35, or I would do 445 if he gave us if we could do a team option on the 4th year.
I mean, fine, whatever. But like, you know, Jakob Poeltl has been a better NBA center than Mitchell Robinson. Jakob Poeltl signed for 3 for, what was it, 27, I think, a couple years ago.
I said that earlier this season and got murdered for it. So, which is why I react like that. So
but again, like if you on balance, he is, if you were to rank NBA centers right now, I don't know what he is. Is he 18, 20, 22, 24? Like it's something in that range. Like, what are you paying that guy for a position that is becoming, not replaceable, but like, what I'm not saying Jericho Sims is Mitchell Robinson. I'm not saying that at all. But like, how much is it worth it for you to lock up a guy for X amount of years at X amount of dollars when you could get, 85% of his production for what is Jericho Sims making? $1 million a year, whatever he is. That's the question.
I think if you're asking that question though, it has to come with a 1A, 1B, and the 1B has to be, do you have a path at least planned to have enough ancillary talent to make up for that 15% loss at a very key position?
Yeah, sure.
Like, it's a very key position, right? Especially for Thibs teams, like the way he runs his defense, the center position is the most pivotal position. Everything, the whole Jenga tower is built on top of that one really strong block.
It's absolutely pivotal, but
I don't know how much I can sell myself on a lot of stuff the Knicks do. I don't know how hard it would be. Too hard of a sell for me to look at Nerlens being our full-time starter and being like.
But again, this conversation isn't about. It's not about Mitchell Robinson or Nerlens Noel, because guess what? If the Knicks, God willing, ever get good enough to be competing for a championship, Mitchell Robinson and Nerlens Noel is not going to be the starting center on that team. I can guarantee you that. You want to sign him to a number that you feel good about being able to send him out easily at that number. And the reason I hesitate on giving him the fourth year is because I think that there's a world where something can happen to him or his play can get to a point where like teams that really scares teams off. 3 guaranteed years, you could always move a guy, because if it goes terribly in year one, you only got 2 years left. So
fair. And that's why, Fournier deal really doesn't bother me at all.
Exactly. And by the way, it's probably gotten as bad as anyone could have envisioned. And you look at his numbers and it's like, all right.
That's fine. Forget the numbers. Look at his last couple weeks of play. He's been fine.
Yeah, I don't disagree.
He hasn't been revolutionary. He hasn't been transcendent. But he has looked like a veteran mercenary shooter who can shoot off the dribble and not defend, which is exactly what we paid for. So,
good call. Okay. Next question.
Dylan Tricky. And now you get to go into Mr. Smiley.
Boy.
And it's not Kemba. Given so much of Randle's struggles seem to be between the ears / mental, is there any value in the team giving him a few weeks off to reset and come back post All-Star break? The upside that he mentions is Randle can refresh and get his head straight. The team can get a good look at extended top-in minutes. And of course, there's the Reddish part also.
I don't think this is done. Unless you're LeBron James and you decide to take a vacation to Andrew. Where did he take a vacation to that year?
He went down to South Beach randomly
that's right.
in his first Cleveland season, just to go get some sun is what LeBron James went and did. He really loves the Miami sun, and
it's all about the sun.
Advantages the sun in Miami provides. More
powerful
speculation here.
And those nice avocado toast breakfasts they have on South Beach.
The 100% the secret to his success. Avocado toast and the sun. Yes.
Unless you're LeBron James, you don't just get that's not. I don't think that's done. It's one thing if you have an injury, and they say he has an injury, and they're specific about the injury, and they're going to say that we're going to try to use rest and rehab. We're going to try to use rest to cure the injury, and if it doesn't work, we're going to have surgery. I don't think that's going to happen. What I do think there is a possibility of happening, and I will say that I at least heard this mentioned as a possibility today, as something that if they don't trade him at the deadline, don't be shocked if this is what happens.
Oh,
I don't know when it would happen. I don't know if it'd be 10 games, 15 games, 20 games left in the season. I have no idea.
Macri missile inbound.
No, listen, just take it for what it's worth. Which who knows? But that he would be shut down and they would, use that time to see what they have in Obi in a more of a full-time role. But because right now, I don't know if this is going to be a question, if I'm getting ahead of myself. Right now, if you ask me to bet, is he going to be traded or is he not going to be traded? I would bet no. Although something that I would have put at like 5 to 10% chance of him getting traded probably a week ago, I would probably put closer to like 30 to 40% chance now. Maybe that's a little too high. Probably is too high actually. But
you're telling me that if you simulate the trade deadline 3 times, Randle gets traded once.
Yeah, I think no, because the difference now is maybe not the difference. I am of the belief now that if they get a deal, like it's about getting a deal that they like, and I have no idea how good that deal has to be. Maybe I don't know. Maybe they whatever. I'll save my thoughts on this.
This front office has been very clear. I'll get you here. This front office has been very clear about having their price, whether they're buying or selling.
Yeah,
and they, as your percentage changes would imply, are probably looking at what price they would want for him a little more closely than they ever have before, given his recent play and apparent attitude towards it.
I'll say, I don't think like the price has dropped drastically in the last couple of weeks, but like you said, I'm sure they have a price and I'm sure it could be met. So whether anybody decides to meet that price is, remains to be seen. So yeah, I hope that's a good answer to this person's question.
Fair. Now the next question that I have, is going to be really fun for you, John.
Oh, great.
And it allows you, if you'd like, to write a future that I think you'd like very much. So,
okay.
Obi Toppin Burner / Knicks fan wants to know who goes first, Tom Thibodeau or Julius Randle?
Oh, Julius Randle. That's not even a question. I mean, it was a question. It was a good question, but there's zero question in my mind that it's Julius Randle. I was talking to someone who I won't say, but someone that is a friend of the pod today about the percentage chances of Thibs like not making it to the end of the season. I don't think that there is a chance of that happening. Which is not to say that I think Tom Thibodeau is going to be here for forever. Johnny Bryant's going to be the next coach of the Knicks. I don't know when it's going to happen. It's going to happen at some point. But I think the if you look at like the seismic shift,
right?
Seismic shift, but like
I get what you're saying.
No, but like Thibs to Johnny Bryant, like at let's just say at some point before the end of this year, or at some point before next season. How about that? At some point before next season, if Thibs was out and Johnny Bryant was in, like, let me put it this way. Good organizations know when to make that move. See Toronto, for example. You get the rigid, strict coach that can take you only so far. And then you transition to a coach that is once the hard part is in place, right? We're still in the hard part. Like Johnny Bryant has never coached before in the NBA. You don't hire him in the midst of a crisis. And I don't know if I'm saying the Knicks are in a crisis right now, but like, I'm not saying they're in a crisis.
All right. Listen, what? I think I'll say it in one sentence.
Okay.
A rare criticism, one sentence, I think people need to look deeper into the Cam Reddish trade in regards to what kind of setup that was as a trade, in regards to how this front office feels about what's going on.
Okay, now I'm going to have to ask you to expand upon that. What do you mean? I think I know what you mean, but I want to
know. They're just clearly still in asset acquisition mode.
Oh,
They agree with you. They do not think that, for all the fans can scream on Twitter all day, at their jobs, in their clothing for their uniform, whatever they want. Fans can scream about how Julius isn't a number one option. The front office agrees with you. They know. They're very
of course
aware.
they know. No, that I hope. Does anybody think differently? Did anybody ever?
They went after Lowry and Paul to try to get the ball out of his hands. I mean, RJ is growing up faster than even I expected. I thought what we're watching now was going to come after the All-Star break and for the rest of the year, and we're getting it in January.
So back to the Thibs Bryant thing. Like, that's a move that they will make at some point. But what I don't think they anticipated, and why I think this question is being asked, is things going so haywire this year. I think they could have, nobody thought this year was going to be like a contending year, but I don't think anybody thought that this was going to happen. So like, I think they need to right the ship first, and then at some point after the ship is righted, then get things back kind of going in the right direction. And then a little bit down the line, you'll probably get that move. But like bad, you know what bad organizations do? Bad organizations would fire Tom Thibodeau this year or this summer. Like, that's what a bad organization does, because like he's shown you he's a good coach.
You know what else I think a bad organization would do, John?
What?
Be in the midst of this Julius Randle situation and say, screw it. Harrison Barnes and Davion Mitchell, I'll take it.
I'm sure we'll get a question of this ilk later, so I'll save my thoughts on that.
Your ride to hell will not be smooth. Derek wants to know if we do end up stealth tanking, and he put that in quotes, even though there isn't much stealthy about it right now, who would y'all want to target to pair with an RJ, OB, IQ, Grimes core?
Oh, from the draft?
I think he means like that, and if there's anyone like trade wise that like another like Cam leg acquisition, I would assume is included in this. But draft was my first thought. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think Jeremy, shout out to Jeremy, did a brilliant job pointing out, and you just pointed it out too, like the whole asset acquisition. Like, they needed someone in a perfect world. The player that they were looking for was a guy who was from that specific draft, because they're looking to extend him potentially this summer for a salary around what Cam's going to wind up extending for. Guy who has like real upsides, obviously young player because it's from that draft. Like, they got the guy already. There's no other like the notion that there's a trade out there where Julius Randle is going to bring back. I'll have something on on De'Aaron Fox in for Friday's newsletter. Long story short,
we'll get there.
I don't think it's realistic, but like, okay, but the notion that Julius is going to bring back like a young player that is going to be good enough that is going to be part of your core moving forward. I don't like, unless you want to, I mean, Andrew and I half joked about it on today's Patreon episode. Maybe not half joked, maybe like 15% joked.
Every good joke has truth to it.
The notion of Julius going to Dallas and like the Knicks getting Jalen Brunson back. Yeah. Listen,
this episode of Patreon is bananas. That's not even the wildest trade that was suggested on the pod.
Oh, it was like the third or fourth wildest trade.
Yeah.
If you want to talk Kemba and their Dallas pick back, or Kemba and their Dallas pick back, and a second. And
listen to the episode. Second. That's all I'll say.
You guys are nuts. All right.
So I'll answer this question in two ways. The first way to answer it is just looking at the draft. Like, there is no position that they need to target. They should be in best player available mode, hands down. And you want to know the evidence of that? And Bobby Marks had a great tweet about this last night or a couple nights ago after the Cavs came back to beat the Knicks. Is like, the Cavs already had Colin Sexton, didn't keep him from drafting Darius Garland. The Cavs already had Jared Allen, didn't stop them from drafting Evan Mobley. Like, you draft the best guys. So like Jabari Smith, Chet Holmgren, Paolo Banchero, Jaden Ivey, I think Sharp is the kid that just reclassified that is going to be now probably the 5th or 6th pick in this draft.
If he does get into this draft, then yeah, he's going to go.
Yeah. Like any of those guys, like take any of them. Like RJ, it's great that RJ, he could play the 2, he could play the 3, whatever. He can play whatever you want.
Can I ask can I get my own mailbag question in really quick?
Sure.
Right now, is he better than Karis LeVert?
Very funny. Yes. Here, the Crow. Here, where's Mr. Crow? Says hi. The other way that I will answer that question is I'm not gonna demean myself to further give credence to that silly question. The other way that I will answer this is to say that in a perfect world, like what do the Knicks need to round out the core? They need an on-ball guard, an on-ball creator. They need Kemba, 6 years ago. But then again, the kid that I would love, I know I just rattled off all the guys at the top of the draft.
Ty.
I was going to say the Ivy kid because again, I know
he's great.
I mean, he's not thought of as a point guard, and God knows I have not done any homework on him or this draft, but like from watching the tape of him, like clips of him, he seems like he could sure as shit do some things in terms of getting to the basket,
Here's what I'll say in regards to that. As someone who ate crow on Halliburton due to my underrating of his ability to develop his pull-up jumper, I think that if the Knicks knew Julius was going to be what he was last year, they would have loved to have taken Halliburton with that 8th pick. And Halliburton's not a point guard, but those passing skills and everything are still be damn helpful next to Julius. I don't think it matters.
Well, I'm certainly not thinking of any player acquisition in terms of how they're going to be next to Julius. Like the notion that Julius Randle's presence is going to factor.
Okay, that's not what I'm. Yeah. Relax. You know what I meant.
Okay, that's fine. All right. Look, they just need to acquire talent, and specifically, they need to acquire talent that potentially can shoot eventually and can draw attention when they have the ball. But like that, so does every other team wants that too. So, it's just it's how can you get it?
Speaking of guys that can shoot potentially one day, me at NYFan07 wants to know, what do you think D Fox is as a player? Seems like a shot of shine has worn off.
So it's funny you asked this.
I've been very publicly anti De'Aaron at a realistic cost.
So I did something of a deep dive into Fox and also into, I guess you'd say, recent NBA, or not recent NBA history, because there is no recent NBA history of young, like high pedigree, talented, kind of top of the draft ish point guards who get traded at this portion of their career. And the reason there is no really recent NBA history of this is because teams don't trade guys like this at all. The last player that you could argue was of this ilk, of this caliber, who got traded and like willingly by a team, was when Utah traded Deron Williams to Brooklyn, or excuse me, it's New Jersey. That's how long ago it was.
Respect New Jersey.
Respect New Jersey. And that was because they feared, correctly, by the way, very correctly feared the impending contract situation. They wanted to get what they could get for I was going to say Donovan Mitchell. That's funny because we're talking about Utah. Get what they could get for Deron Williams. Well, they could. That trade was back in 2008, I believe. Andrew, if you want to look up when the Deron Williams trade was.
While he's Googling, I have a counter question to push you a little here. And my counter question is, because Fox is likely to get traded, it seems at some point, maybe, do you think that maybe that just means when you say guys of this ilk, one of these guys, do you think maybe he's not one of those guys? So
that's exactly thank you, Chris. That was my point. That was my point in that if Sacramento actually trades this guy, like, look, it's the Kings. We all laugh at the Kings. That's fine. Like, if you have a guy like this and there's even a chance that he could be this sort of player at that position with the way the rules in the league are today, you don't trade that guy. Like, this used to happen a lot. And I go through it in the Friday newsletter, like Stephon Marbury, Kenny Anderson, Baron Davis, like guys used to get traded from the point guard position because that was before, the only player who, the only like young-ish point guard who got traded and gave the teams that traded him buyer's remorse, I think, was Jason Kidd. And that was like, there was lots going on when he was traded from Dallas. And then Phoenix, after Phoenix traded him, he was kind of already a little bit on the older side. Like, he had led them to 5 straight playoff appearances. Like, these trades don't happen. So if the Kings are entertaining trading him, like, they have real concerns. The Deron Williams draft trade was 2005.
Yeah, because it was a 2005 draft in which the Jazz traded their pick to the next year's draft. Or I forget the exact order.
No, that was his draft. I'm talking about the trade. The year he got traded, I think, was like 2010.
You're talking about the trade to Brooklyn?
Or to New Jersey, yeah.
It was literally a week after the Melo trade. So it's
there you go.
2011?
2011, okay. All that being said, I think Fox, before this season, like, it was it wasn't all good. The Kings were better. Like, the defensive numbers have been pretty again, how much do you attribute to him? How much do you attribute to the culture? How much do you attribute to the fact that he plays so many minutes with like Harrison Barnes Harrison Barnes, Buddy Hield?
Here's my thing though. Like, when Booker was on the Phoenix Shitters and they were a 21 win team, I was telling people back then, this kid's a better defender than Donovan Mitchell.
It was obvious.
That was not a consensus take.
Well, no, maybe not that specific take, but
my point there is that I think that even if a guy is on a total, loser squad, I think you can still identify when they're a good defender or not. And we're still waiting on Fox to be a good off-ball player. We're still waiting on Fox to be a good shooter. We're still waiting on Fox to be a good defender.
So that's the thing, is like, and it is really just, it's a fundamental question, similar to the question that we are dealing with Julius Randle right now, is essentially, can you have an on-ball player in the league who doesn't play the center, who doesn't protect the rim, that can't shoot? And I think the answer might be no. And I don't know if De'Aaron Fox could shoot it. So, I mean, look, would I trade Julius for him? Like, yeah, of course I trade Julius for him. I think every Knicks fan would trade Julius for him. I think the Knicks would trade Julius for him.
Chris, you wouldn't.
Chris is going radio silent.
So, if we know neither one is a number one option, because we sure as hell know Julius Randle is not a number one option. And I guess, if you want to use, I remember John had a tweet about Mitchell and Murray when they were facing off in the bubble. And he was like, this is like a lot of brownie points for the buy guys with upside of being primaries side of things. But like, if we think that neither Fox nor Randle will be our number one option when, as John said, God willing, we are contending sometime relatively soon, a couple / few years from now. And we've seen Fox be, I'm going to sugarcoat this and say, useless off ball in Sacramento. Then I don't know how excited I am about the prospect of not only having him as a third option, but in the meantime, limiting the amount of on-ball reps that RJ can get because of how much De'Aaron likes to be on the ball and how bad he is off the ball.
I'm not worried about that right now. I'm worried about just getting in a guy who's going to look good here. If they think if they think De'Aaron Fox can look better in a Knick uniform than Julius Randle is currently looking in a Knick uniform, and that would continue, and there's a better chance that he would look better in a Knick uniform than Julius would look in a Knick uniform next season. And I don't know that they necessarily think that, but if they do think that, and I know a lot of people watching the team right now would probably think that.
I think a lot of guys would look better in a Knick uniform than Julius right now. We know how this year is going.
Well, then,
I don't think that's an excuse to make a move. I don't know.
But then make the move and you figure out the rest later, because then maybe when the time comes that Donovan Mitchell does tell Utah, like, yeah, I think I'm done here. Like, guess what? You got the Aaron Fox to send them back. And like, is the Aaron Fox an imperfect option? As we just discussed, he is, but he could also be the salary that goes back in that sort of trade, you know? So that's why, like, because the problem right now is that the notion that like Julius Randle is going to be the centerpiece of that sort of, like, that's an issue. So yeah, I trade Julius for him, but I'm not going to create some crazy package. And to be honest with you, the more I think about it, about whether I'd rather have a Julius, like maybe Julius and a small asset for Fox, or Julius for like non-star X plus decent draft asset, I would consider going path B.
I agree,
but we'll see.
I agree. So there is we had to get there at some point. I had to ask about De'Aaron, all these lines, and we haven't done.
It's a good question.
We haven't done a mailbag since that headline came out about Sacramento first maybe trading one of the two, then not trading either. You know, so it's
ridiculous.
They're really good at what they do. If you remember, a report came out that they were going to. I remember I was in high school and I was in this offshoot hallway that we have in the second floor. Like, I remember when I saw the tweet.
So like last week. Okay.
All right, man. Listen, Gramps. I saw this tweet and it was like, the Kings are going to deliberate, knowing that the Suns are taking Ayton, on whether they're going to take Bagley or Doncic. And I was like, they're going to deliberate. I was like 16 at the time, and I knew Luka should have been the number one pick. And then a day later, Shams is like, they've landed on Bagley. They're zoning in on Bagley. And I was like, oh my God, like the LOL Kings things that people tell me about are real.
It was, it was ridiculous at the time, but okay. Next question
is from Miles. He wants to know if he's crazy to think that the front office has a consolidation trade coming before the deadline. His B question says a little follow-up is, what do you think a package of Kemba, Noel, and the Dallas pick could reasonably get us?
Do I think the front office has a consolidation trade lined up, or that they are 100% going to make a consolidation trade? No, I don't. I think, as we spoke about before, I think this front office just looks at everything on its own merits, and they will not make a trade just to make a trade. I do think that they will, it's not to the point where they're like, whatever the best offer is on Burks, we're going to trade him. But I think it's about as close as you could probably get to something like that. As other than Burks, though, I don't know that they're maybe they're looking at Burks that way. But even again, what do you get? Who's trading something great for Burks right now, the way he's been playing? I don't know the answer to that question. But again, there's more than one way to skin a cat. Again, you could shut guys down and things like that. So they'll trust me, the kids are going to play down the stretch of the season, barring, unless they start winning games, which, newsflash, they're not. What was it? Noel, Kemba, and the Dallas pick?
Yeah, the 23.
A box of donuts? I don't know. That's basically asking what does the Dallas pick get you? Because Nerlens Noel is not a net neutral asset right now. He hasn't been on the floor.
Oh, okay, that's fair. I was gonna say
and honestly, Kemba's not a net neutral asset right now. Who right now? What NBA? No, it's just a very simple question. Right now, today, what NBA team would sign up for paying Kemba Walker $9 million next year? I don't think there's a team.
The Houston Rockets, if they have a plan for John Wall.
Houston Rockets. Give me a break.
Yeah, dude. They have young guys that they're trying to develop.
Okay, actually, you know what? It's funny you mentioned the Houston Rockets. Could the Knicks get Eric Gordon for that package?
That was the first name that came to mind. The other name that came to mind was Noel. Is like one of the few teams in the league that probably looks at Noel as a guy that they're like, wow, I really wish we had him, is Dallas. So if that could make something with, Noel and the 23 first rounder and one of the 8 or 9 23 second rounders that Brock Aller sleeps with under his pillow every night, we could put that together and get Brunson.
I'd be shocked if they got Brunson for that. Shocked. Utterly shocked.
I don't know what Brunson's value is considering the amount of circusery that they have to deal with if they sign and trade him after this year, which is some, like Jeremy was talking to me about how messy that would get. And I know it's really valuable to them, but like if he tells them, like I am going to make this messy for you and try to get to New York, like
they're not giving away that dude. They're not giving away that dude. I'd love it if I wouldn't so much that I'm wrong. I hope beyond hope that I'm wrong.
I think he's average. I think he's not great, not terrible, just
okay.
A player. Yeah. I don't know.
You're right to think that. 60. Hold on. I'm just adding their salaries. They make 17 and change together this year. So that means Knicks could accept a salary up to about 12 and change. I'm just looking to see if there's anybody else that I'm not thinking of off the top of my head with the pick.
Gary Harris. Literally.
Yeah, what are the Knicks going to do? Like, again,
the other name I can think of.
So like all the types of trades that you're thinking of are like trades for like a veteran, a win now veteran. And like the Knicks
don't seem like a team that want to use a first to do that when they just use the first to do an anti-win now move.
Yeah, I don't see anything out there. I really don't. Yeah, I don't see anything.
What about Kemba to Cleveland?
They just traded for Rondo.
Yeah.
I mean,
they got Rondo after the Rubio injury.
Right, but so yeah, Alder Almo from Twitter just suggested that Kemba Walker's salary of $8.9 million fits Cleveland's disabled player exemption for Ricky Rubio. So if you wanted to have multiple guard options for your backup point guard solution.
So you're getting a second round pick from Cleveland? I'm pretty sure Cleveland I'm pretty sure Cleveland has some extra seconds floating around from some previous trade. I feel like they've been in asset acquisition mode, as it says, or as it stands. They actually have a great pick. They have Houston's pick coming up for this year's draft. They're not trading that pick. They also have San Antonio's pick this year. Would they give up the 2022 San Antonio second rounder to acquire Kemba Walker into their disabled player exception? Maybe. I don't know.
That's a fair question to ask. I think it's a question.
It is a question. They also don't have their own second, but again, their own second is probably going to be pretty good. Or like not good. Like they will be good. So their own second will not be good. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Maybe that's possible. That's a good thought though, Andrew. I like that. I didn't even think of that.
Again, shout out Alder Almo. Dude, I don't know if he's a reporter or not, but he comments on a lot of Knicks Film School stuff. So.
He kind of reports on.
Oh, yeah. Well, kind of reporter. Alder, shout out to you. Go ahead, Kris.
I'm sorry. I had to let that moment sit. It was so perfectly awkward. Ray wants to know in order, and this this question comes on the heels of Zach Lowe saying today in the Lowe Post that the Knicks are getting calls on the young guys like quickly and they are shutting them all down, which is nice. Ray wants to know in order which one of the young bench players, IQ, OB, Grimes, and Cam, anyone else you want to add, like Deuce, has the most or least upside. And then a bonus after that, which do you think will or won't be with the Knicks when their rookie deal expires? Do you have any strong thoughts about
who might? So I'm ranking upside of
young bench players. So IQ, OB, Grimes, Cam, and if you want to add Deuce and Jericho in there, you can as well.
I think I did this in the post game the other night, but I'll do it again. God knows I'll probably wind up giving a different answer. I think Cam has the most upside. And it's funny because I forgot about Cam when I answered this question the other night, and then I thought about Cam and I'm like, oh, it's obviously Cam. It is obviously Cam. I think Cam has the most upside of that group. It's tough. It's a tough question to answer because, like, is there an upside? Is there an upside to Obi Toppin that is higher than probably anything Grimes is going to be? Sure. You know, you could probably even say the same thing about Quickly. Like if Obi develops a jump shot, and it's a real jump shot, like a real jump shot that like goes in the basket more than it ricochets off the side of the backboard. Then he becomes
respect the Obi UFOs.
I know. Then he becomes a really, really, really interesting offensive player that can a good team survive with him on the defensive end? I think that's always going to be a question. But like how likely are we to get to that point? Very encouraged by the free throw shooting this year. I think there's also something to be said for the fact, as much of Knicks Twitter has been screaming from the rooftops for months, what would he look like in a bigger role?
Yeah, I was going to say with IQ and Obi, especially Obi, guys who seem to really thrive when it comes to getting better at the hoop and ball game when they are on the court playing reps. These guys are playing no reps. Like I can sit during games and schedule on my computer, hashtag play IQ. It's my new favorite hashtag play IQ for every just like 7 minutes of the game. And I'll probably be right like 80% of the time. He's not in and for no reason.
So I'm giving real thought to putting Grimes too here.
Oh, it's tempting, but I think the battle for me, the battles are between Cam and IQ for the top spot, and then Grimes and Obi for the next two. That's the way I tier it.
I haven't like, let me be very clear. I have not like soured on Immanuel Quickley, but I think I may have gotten a little ahead of myself with Quickley at times this year because he has moments where it's just like, man, this guy's a big game player. And he is, I think he is a big game player. And I think he's the fact that like, he's never going to be scared and he wants to take the big shot. Like that's, you know, and after reading Chris Herring's book, Blood in the Garden, and reading about John Starks, it's like, you know, is there a 95th percentile outcome for Quickley that looks like Starks? Maybe. I don't know. He would need the right coach, someone to really believe in him. He would need the right, you know, roster / rotation dominoes to fall to give him a real chance to play meaningful minutes. Like, and he needs to keep developing as a point guard.
Thibs plays him in fourth quarters. Man.
I know he does. I know. Thibs likes him. Thibs trusts him.
And he plays him specifically with Evan, RJ, Julius, Mitch, which is basically him saying, we're going to start Kemba every game he's healthy, but I would like to play IQ when this thing actually matters.
So like the honest answer to this question is like, I obviously, as I'm going back and forth on this, I don't have an answer that I could say with much conviction. My gut feeling though would be to put, man, I really want to put, my gut feeling would be to put, oh, wait, I forgot about Mitch. Or should I include Mitch in this answer?
He said young bench players. So
yeah,
great.
This is a bench only thing. Bench only.
So Mitch and RJ are clear here.
I'll go. Well, I don't know about that.
The question.
Yeah,
sir.
Okay. So I'll go.
Obi. Trying to get his digs off. Come on.
I'll go Obi. I'll go Obi 2, Grimes 3, Quickley 4. And then who do I think will be at the team?
I'm gonna remember this.
Okay. Look, I love Immanuel Quickley. I think really highly of Grimes, and I think Obi has a real ceiling. What was the other one? Oh, who do I think is going to be on the team at the end of their contract? I think Cam's going to be here at the end of his contract. That's for sure. Grimes.
Yeah.
I think Obi is the least likely of the three to be here at the end of his contract, because as much as I would love to live in a fantasy world where Julius Randle is no longer on this team 3 weeks from now, I think the more I don't even know if I believe this. I was going to say I think the more likely scenario is he remains on the team and potentially even remains on the team into the beginning of next season, and in which case I think they would probably listen a lot more on Obi during the summer. But I think all the guys have a chance to be here on the next contract. Yeah. I really do. I genuinely believe that. And that is a vote of confidence in the front office. Maybe famous last words from me, but yeah.
Hopefully not. So we've done a lot of talking about trades, about different options, what different things could yield. I want to, you know, the meme. It's like people always ask, "Why is this?" Not "How is this?" You know, I want to get your thoughts, John. I want to know what you think. And so does Ethan. At NY Sports Fan Kush wants to know what your ideal, realistic trade deadline would be, and he's saying not necessarily realistic in the sense of would the Knicks do it, more like if you, Mr. Macri, were running the team, what are some realistic trades you would try to do to maybe pedal this thing in what is allegedly the right direction that we are clearly not facing right now?
Well, we know one.
What'd you say, Andrew?
We know one. Harrison Barnes is here along with Davion Mitchell. In like my perfect world, like and in my perfect world that I think is actually semi-realistic.
Yeah, sure.
The Knicks are getting a pick back from the Kings, and along with Barnes. And
that would be your trade.
If I could get a pick from the Kings that had a chance to be unprotected at some point in a trade where I got Harrison Barnes as well, and I'm sending Julius Randle out. Oh my goodness. I mean, I wouldn't be able to call that into the league office fast enough. That would be, oh boy. And I'm not even sure when I would want the pick in my perfect world. Would I want the pick to be? I probably wouldn't want it to be this year, because the odds that pick is going to be in this draft. And again, Chris, you know a lot more about this than me. This seems to be a very clear top 4, right? And I guess now again that the kid who reclassified, if he's in there, like maybe it makes it a top 5, right? You know, and like we saw last season with when the Warriors had multiple picks in the back half of the lottery, and the Magic also, right, had multiple picks. Like, it ain't that easy to just package 2 picks and move up a spot or 2 spots. Like if a team thinks they're getting one of those guys, guess what? They're going to draft one of those guys. They ain't giving it away. So like the notion that the Knicks could get the Kings pick this year and like package it and try to like move into, like, that's not happening. I'd rather get a pick for the Kings later down the line that has a better chance to be at the top of the draft. Do I think that that's realistic? I wish I knew. But if you're asking me my ideal, I did it. You know, Andrew, you've been here for all of these conversations and all my thoughts on this. There's a reason where the first time I ever broached the idea of a Julius Randle trade, my mind gravitated immediately to the Kings and to Harrison Barnes. That was from day one, whatever it was, 2 months ago when I first started thinking about this, or a month and a half ago. It makes sense on so many levels. It's a desperate team, desperate to make the playoffs. They're close enough that they could talk themselves into making the play-in. And Barnes is honestly like the perfect player for this type of deal, because like for a Julius trade, you're not getting a star back for Julius the way he has played. Like, it's just not going to happen in like, other than maybe Fox. And if I'm the Kings, like, why the fuck would I do that? Why would I trade De'Aaron Fox for Julius Randle? I get positionally it makes sense because you have Halliburton, you have Davion, and theoretically, like, but like, I don't think the Kings are going to do that. And again, but for the Knicks, you're getting a guy in Barnes who, again, he's not some kind of on-ball creation guy or whatever, but like, that dude's a good basketball player. I don't care what team you put him on. Like, there's a reason the Kings were demanding 2 first-round picks for him at last year's deadline. And I'm sure the certain teams thought about it. He's a good basketball player. And he's going to help you. And he's going to help you on both ends of the court. And is it going to be bumpy for the rest of this year having RJ run your offense? It's going to be really bumpy. But guess what? Maybe that's for the best. So yeah, that's. I don't even care about anything else before the deadline. I don't really give a shit what they get for Burks. Ooh, I cursed. Fuck.
There's no way you're not real.
What?
I was like, I have a friend who got in a car accident when we were in high school, and then driving away from the car accident, got in another car accident. That was right?
That is exactly what that was. Yeah. So I think that really, and again, the great thing about Harrison Barnes, and again, I want to be just really super clear. Harrison Barnes is not changing your life. Harrison Barnes cannot.
He changed my life. Speak for yourself.
He's just but he's just a solid guy who could help you in a lot of ways. But I think that's the best. If you look at the potential players that could come back, in this sort of a deal, unless you want to get crazier. And again, shout out to the Patreon episode we recorded earlier today, where we did a crazy trade with Dallas that I'm not even going to say on this podcast. You can feel free to go listen to that if you're interested.
Don't answer this, but I just hope for craziness' sake that Frank Ntilikina came back to the Knicks.
Frank's name was mentioned. I'll say that. Frank's name was mentioned.
You guys are on the right track.
Yeah. I'm trying to think outside the box stuff.
If the trade was Randle for Brunson and Hardaway Jr., you guys have warm seats. And all right.
Shout out to Patreon.
Really?
So yeah, no, that would be my ideal trade, realistic trade deadline. In terms of trying to think I really would like them to get Brunson. I'd like Brunson a lot. I think I'd like very much to see whether playing alongside a point guard like Brunson, who is, again, in a perfect world, he is a 6 man of the year type candidate guy, combo guard off the bench who could play alongside your primary. When your primary is a guy like Luka, which RJ is. I
like that take. Perfect world, 6 man of the year.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a great assessment on Brunson.
And that's what Brunson is. And anybody who says that that's not what Brunson is, hasn't really been paying attention. And again, if your comp is Fred VanVleet, well, guess what? Fred VanVleet was a 6 man on a world champion, and VanVleet is better. And VanVleet is better. I want to be very clear about that as well. So but would I like to see Brunson play starting point guard for this team for the rest of this year and see just the presence of another guy who, again, is not a lead guard in the traditional sense, but how his presence would help RJ out? Would it make our life on offense a little bit easier for the Knicks with RJ as kind of the center point? I'm curious about that. And then the last thing I'll say, and again, shout out to Benji for bringing this up on the most recent podcast, getting a stretch 5 in there, which again, I know, what do you do with Mitch? Do you bring Mitch off the bench? But to get a stretch 5 to play alongside RJ, which brings us back to Miles Turner, which again, I think Knicks fans, as much as we all hate Julius Randle right now, a lot of people would be, my God, would they be upset at the front office if there was a Julius to Indiana trade in which Miles Turner was the main piece coming back. But I got to tell you, if that's the best deal that I could get for Julius for Miles and maybe a small thing.
No, don't do this.
I'd do it.
What are your objections, Kris?
I think that's, oh my God.
And I'm not a big Turner guy. I'm really not.
That's even more ludicrous. Oh.
But again, I think from a fundamental basketball standpoint, the benefits of getting a stretch 5 to be on this team, both to help RJ and to help Obi Toppin would be absolutely massive. And oh, by the way, Turner's a guy who wants a little bit more responsibility on the ball. And if he came to a Knicks team without Julius Randle on it, but with, RJ and all the rest of the collection of characters that we have, you'd be able to get a little bit more of that. And I don't know, maybe Miles Turner turns himself into a bit more of an asset here. Wouldn't shock me.
That maybe is a large maybe for that deal to be like a worth it trade to hinge on. I don't know. I cannot view, like, if you're trying to put together a contending team, you want to say RJ will develop into your second option.
Your mind always, look, and I did this. I still do this sometimes. I don't blame you for it, but stop thinking about all these trades in terms of, does this,
free agency doesn't exist this year. So if you're making a trade now, this is Chris, you're putting your foot in the sand on that direction. They are years away from being in the, like, it is just about, you said it before, just asset acquisition, just get a little bit better, make a little bit more sense on the court. That's all it is. He's not that to replace Randle with. I don't know if Fox is not that guy. Miles is not that guy. Brunson is not that guy. Well, to me, again, if it's not clear from this episode, it's not clear from the post game of Miami or any of the recent post games. I think by far the most important thing this team could do is get rid of Julius Randle. I think, Chris, I also wouldn't want them to trade him for Turner, but I think that's more the sentiment being expressed here. I get it. It's Randle, just like the honeymoon is very much over, and going to that extent, like Miles Turner, like that's too much. I get what you're saying. Hold on, in my defense, I'm not saying trade Julius for. And again, I don't know who the hell, I don't know what the hell Atlanta would do. But like, I'm not saying, trade him for like Danilo Gallinari, right? Like, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying trade him for a guy who is going to help your basketball team today. And he is going to help your basketball team today. In a real way, right? And not just to get off the salary to get off the salary. I'm not saying that. They should not trade Julius Randle just to get off his money, and they're not going to trade Julius Randle just to get off his money. Right. If we know they're not contending now, obviously, or close to contending now, then why does getting better right now? Because the ship be sinking. This is bad, Chris. It's not good what's going on there right now. And when Ian drops, you know how I know it's bad? Here's how I know it's bad. When Ian Begley drops the piece in which he reports, about whatever his specific report said, this, that, and the other inside the locker room, when he includes caveats in the report where it's like, just want to be very clear, I'm not saying this, I'm not saying this, I'm not saying this. When in reality, I'm reading that and I'm like, oh, wow, all of these, he is saying all these things. And the reason he has to go through it and be like, I'm not saying this, is so he doesn't get, he doesn't get shit for it. It's not good right now. It's really not good. And I want it to be back to being where it's like, just what do you do with a cancer? You cut it out. Okay. I get that angle. That's my stance. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he's not a cancer. Maybe someone else is at fault. I don't know. What the fuck do I know? But yeah. I get the stance. I think that is a stance that you can act on and leave this team in a better position going forward than it is now. I don't think that acting on that stance to an extent where Miles Turner and draft capital is your return, not even, considering the logjam that would leave them in with Randle and Domas, that's too much. I don't know. I think you're going so far in one way that you've gone the other. Maybe that's the way I personally view it. More trades open up during the offseason. It's inevitable. More trades always open up during the offseason. They especially this offseason. Yeah, and they may be limiting themselves by trading him now, which is why, again, I want to be extraordinarily clear about this. It needs to be the right deal, but I think you could, if you get something else back from Indiana. Now, what is that something else? I don't know. That something else has to be unprotected. Because in this
doomsday scenario of like, I just want Randle gone. I will trade him for a center that's currently not healthy or able to play games. It just sounds like you're better off if you're that out on Randle, just like shut him down for the rest of the year. Then if that's the play, and address this again in the offseason before the extension kicks in. And
that's the most likely scenario is if things keep going poorly over the next 10 to 15 games, then Randle gets shut down and you try to trade him in the offseason.
The reactions to this are fascinating, by the way, just from my perspective, seeing both of you work through this is like, I get Chris's thing of like, that's the return for Randle, but I also get John's thing of like, I can't watch this anymore. Like this is not a good thing.
It's about, okay, maybe John can act on that stance, but the value can't fall off that big of a cliff.
But it's not about watching bad basketball. God knows I've watched a lot of awful basketball over the course of my lifetime. But I think you built something. I think what happened last year was real, and it wasn't just a flash in the pan. I think there were real foundational pieces put in place for a culture that is now absolutely being torn to shreds. And I think it's still salvageable. And I think in order to salvage it, you need to get this guy out of here. Jeff Van Gundy said it last night. You need your best player to what was his term? Have an unquenched desire to win, right? Something along those lines.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's not, no one's, you don't have to read between the lines here. It's right. You're saying the quiet part out loud. Julius is not that guy. And what evidence do we have that he's going to magically become that guy again? I shouldn't even say again, because last season, yes, he was winning, but you know what? He was winning, getting all the glory, all the attention. And then when it came time for him to adjust his game, to welcome in some new super friends in the summer, to the point where maybe the attention wouldn't be as much on him, Julius turns into a pumpkin. That wasn't a coincidence.
All right, man. If cooked Kemba Walker is a super friend, we are off the deep end. I can't.
You know what? I have no idea what cooked Kemba Walker could have been. I know I saw a version of that dude this year, more than a couple times, that could play ball. And like, by the way,
me
Fournier,
too. It's about the fact that we don't see that guy all the time. That's the thing with him. It's not that he stinks. He's a good player. It's that he is not.
That's fair. But Fournier, there's a real guy in there who could do real stuff. And like, guess what? We have seen it when he gives a damn against Boston, right? And his play, I'm not saying he's been any better in terms of his mentality, because I think he's been like the other kid, like two kids arguing. It's like two kids arguing in the sandbox. Him and Julius.
I know. So
their play.
So many guys have, a subpar attitudes, and so many guys are playing worse basketball than in their literal long careers they have shown to be able to play. I don't get why like a lot of the focus that's on Julius isn't at least shared with Thibs, first of all. And second of all, why Julius being gone is the one-off solution to all of these problems.
I'm not absolving Thibs of blame anymore.
Resolve everything.
I'm not absolving Thibs of blame anymore, but
we're past that.
No, I know, but at the same time, I know that dude could coach, and he has handled a bad situation poorly, and he's arguably made it worse. But the notion that like he is the reason for this happening.
Oh no, that's not what I said.
Is not the case. And also,
I don't get why Thibs doesn't share some of Julius's again Julius's blame.
I know.
I don't get why we. Yeah.
For as much as has gone wrong, this team plays hard consistently, still somehow every night. And I have watched team after team after team not do that. And he continues to get us to do that. And
they look like you closing out on the corners, dude.
Julius looks like me closing out on the corners.
Grimes, the guys who are either just happy to be here, like IQ and Obi, who have had to grind their entire career for minutes and opportunity and all that, like they're playing like they want to earn their keep. Everyone else is playing like they know they can score 0 points and still get put in over the kids that have earned their keep.
No, it's just call it like it is. It's the three guys. It's Kemba, Fournier, and Julius, where this tug of war with this team is going on. And
I don't know if I like Burks enough to exclude him from that group. I don't know if
I'm not putting any. Burks has been bad of late, but he's like, again, that's a guy who has shown time after time after time again this year.
I am the one pushing back on the people saying, "Oh, just stop playing him and play Cam." Like I do not agree. So
no, I don't agree with that. Look, Thibs is not without fault here, but if you're asking me, what do I think that there's a better chance of happening? The Knicks righting the ship by firing Thibs and elevating Johnny Bryant, or the Knicks trading Julius Randle for a guy who's going to come in and like a lot of these issues go away. I'm happy to trade Randle. Okay, I'm sure we have a few more questions we should probably get to.
There's one more question, but I did want to say, you talked a lot about watching ugly basketball. Bobby Marks suggested today that we should trade for Westbrook. So if you want to,
did he really
watch a really good brand of basketball? There's another path too. One of the other really talented guys we can move Julius for.
We traded Westbrook on the Patreon pod too, John, didn't we?
Yes, we did.
For what? Jimmer Fredette in the first class fight?
No. Chris, I'll tell you after the pod so people can go listen to it.
The Shanghai Sharks headquarters.
Man, the Westbrook trade that John came up with is a masterpiece. Like, I don't think it'll happen, but I want it to happen so bad.
Those are the trades that are they're too perfect to happen. Like Simmons for Fox before this season, it was too perfect to happen. That's why it didn't happen. Right. All right, John, one last question before we get you to bed. Hub Cam Fam wants to know, does Macri push P?
I have no idea what that means. Am I supposed to know what that means?
As you want me to give you some like Knicks related sentences like that would define it?
Sure.
Like, all right, so like Julius Randle getting his bag and then playing like an ass clown, like that's not P. Like he's not pushing P. But like Quentin Grimes coming in and clamping the POA full effort, like his first possession of the game, like that's P. You know what I'm saying? Like,
so do I do this?
RJ coming in and balling out this whole month, like that's P. Noel not catching a pass, he's not pushing P.
Okay, so the question is, do I push P?
Yeah, are you pushing P?
P like is urine?
No, man.
The letter P.
Dude. Like,
I don't even know what we're talking about.
P like play. It's like player. It's like player. Like you like. Are you player, John? Like you pushing P? You kicking P?
Like playa? Like PLAYA?
You didn't listen to Gunna's album?
No.
Come on, dude. We gotta get.
What does P stand for? What does P stand for, Chris?
It stood for player at first, but now it's just P.
All I can think about when you asked the question was like, how close am I to the age where I really do have to like work hard to push my pee out of my system? And that was really depressing for me. And now I don't even know what to think.
I thought, shout out Julito, I thought about season 4 of The Wire where the drug of choice is pandemic. And so they were pushing pandemic on the corners in season 4.
Quentin Grimes pushing P.
Oh, so he pushes. Oh, you actually make the sign with your hands. Okay.
Someone did a TikTok thing. That's not part of it. But like, are you pushing P, John?
Are you putting your best foot forward, John?
Facts. Are you?
I think that's the translation.
I hope so. That's my answer. I hope so.
I have one very quick. We can make fun of John real quick, Chris, because I'm going to guarantee he has no idea what I'm referring to. And then I have to hold you and probably your education accountable. So, John, you have any idea what Wordle is?
I do, because I've been seeing it come up on Twitter the couple of minutes a day that I do happen to scroll on this app. And also some of my students were playing it today.
Okay. So Wordle is a website that everybody goes to. I just say everybody loosely, but a lot of people go to. And you basically have 6 tries to guess a 5-letter word every day. And as you guess, like say the first word you suggest is Nick, right? So if none of the letters in the word Nick are in the word you're supposed to guess, those letters disappear from the alphabet. And you basically have to guess throughout the 6 letters. So like, for example, today, we're at the end of the day, so I can guess this. The word was mount. So I guessed audio to start. So the O and the U showed up as they were in the word, but in wrong direction. So then I knew to guess O and U. I'll explain it later in more detail. But the word.
So then at that point, you're guessing a word where the O and the U are in the places that they show up in the thing.
Well, so if the letters are highlighted with yellow, then it says that means that if the letters are highlighted in yellow, it means that they're in the word, but they're in the wrong spot. So then if you get them right in your second try, like so in audio, the O and U showed up in the wrong spot. So next word I guessed is sound. And so the OU would then be green, but nothing else showed up. So I had to, I guess the N would have showed up in that case. Regardless, that is how Wordle works. You basically have 6 tries to guess the 5-letter word of the day. I lead into this because Kris, I think it was earlier this week or late last week, the word was knoll, Knoll. And Kris had no idea.
Like grassy knoll?
Thank you. The grassy knoll. Kris, I'm curious what you were taught about the JFK assassination that you were never introduced to the word null.
Oh, what are we going to bring Jeremy on the pod now too?
That's the best joke possible. But I was that's why I was taken aback. Like you said, I've never. What the heck is this word?
Yeah,
and it's like, is that not part of the JFK Like, what did you learn about it?
I was going to say I learned about holes, not knolls. I don't know. You know, I don't. I have no idea. You know, I know. Is that the name of the guy that shot him?
No. So where JFK
John Wilkes
got?
Booth.
That's Lincoln.
That's Lincoln. As Grassy Knoll, the guy who killed. And that sounds like a place though, not a guy.
It is a place. So
wasn't he in Texas? Was he in Austin?
Fort Worth,
Austin?
Texas.
He was in Dallas. He was not in Austin.
It was
Austin,
it was Dallas, Fort Worth,
Dallas,
yes.
Houston. It's all the same place.
This is okay. So maybe this is a junior year thing you learn.
They're all in the South.
It's the West, but technically the South. Okay. This more clarifies that you didn't learn anything about the JFK assassination in high school. Then that maybe this is a college deep dive you have to do.
I learned about this in 8th grade. Was JFK. So
there's a great documentary actually on this, Kris, directed by this guy, Oliver Stone. It's called JFK. You should watch it. Everything in there is...
You called it a documentary. There's a dramatization.
No, it's a documentary. So to just watch that and then you should
Is it like a conspiracy?
It's a documentary. Go and watch it. And
here's what I'll say
in polite company.
I'm at the point where I am on John's side, where if you told me it's a documentary, I'd believe it. Basically, Kris, JFK was assassinated while in a slow motorcade, and they ruled that it was from a warehouse gunman from behind.
Oh, the second shot and all that stuff.
So there's a conspiracy that a second shot came from the front, and it came from the grassy knoll where there's a very clear image of the camera footage of JFK being shot with the camera. The man who shot with the camera, his name was Zapruder. So the Zapruder film came from right by the grassy knoll. And the theory is that there was a second shooter that day. This is all leading to me wondering if that is even addressed. Like the grassy knoll is like a place that is landmarked where people go to look at the grassy knoll of where JFK was shot. Because it's like the moment in the parade route where the death shot happened.
I guess I have to watch the documentary.
I don't want to activate you and make you watch JFK, but
watch JFK. It's a really good movie.
It is a really good movie. Really good Kevin Costner performance.
All right, Kris, here is the last. We'll end the pod with this. What should I put on the table here? I will send you, and you have to honor code. You cannot look this up right now. I will send you a Knicks Film School swag item of your choice. If you tell me,
I'm not going to know it. I already know.
The hoodie.
If you tell me who was the president before JFK.
Oh, do I know that? Yeah, I do know this. Okay. I was making sure.
Dude, when the hell was he even president? The 60s.
So JFK got elected in 1960. He won a very close election. In fact, people went to bed that night thinking that
the year my mom was born, dude.
Thinking that Vice President Richard Nixon had won, and woke up finding out that
you just gave him a hint.
JFK had won. I don't
Dude,
think if
you
he,
think
he
I
doesn't know who the president when Nixon.
You think
was
I
vice
know who
president is.
Nixon's was the vice? Yes, Jesus, come on.
I think I'm allowed to give hints here to make it somewhat close.
I was ready to say, can I say what my first guess was going to be before I say? I was going to say the first George Bush. I was going to say the first George Bush.
Was before JFK?
And then you guys said
you should be expelled.
The guy said this. You guys said the 70s. I was like, oh,
you should be.
I didn't even say the 70s. The word 70s hasn't come up yet. Yes, expelled.
60s. I'm gonna go. God, I feel like the funny guess is Ronald Reagan. Like just objectively funny.
Reagan got elected in 1980.
I'm gonna go Lyndon B. Johnson.
Was the vice president for Kennedy and then took over for Kennedy after he was.
You know what? That's actually a respectable guess.
That is. He was the president after JFK.
That is a respectable. So that was a respectable guess. All right. All right. I'll take it. I'll take respectable guess.
The answer is Dwight D. Eisenhower.
Yeah. I had a doctor.
Reminds me of a very funny episode, by the way, of Married with Children. But continue.
What? All right, I'm just making stuff up at this point. That's not.
Do you know what I'm talking about, Andrew?
I do.
I believe
that's very much the age gap, though.
I believe that was an episode where they were accusing Marcy's husband. I forget his first name, but Mr. Darcy, of being a communist. Mm-hmm. And
so this woman's name was Marcy Darcy.
Yeah. Yes, that was a joke of the show because she got drunk and got married one night, and the guy's last name ended up being Darcy. So she woke up and she's like, "My name's Marcy Darcy." Mm-hmm. Anyway, there was an episode where Mr. Darcy was accused of being a communist, and Al Bundy was like to get him to like his challenge was like, "All right, let's go back and forth. Name every U.S. president," and the guy names all of like the presidents, and the only president that Al Bundy knows is Dwight D. Eisenhower.
This is the oldest moment of the show ever, Chris.
Listen, shout out to anyone else who grew up watching Married with Children.
Good one, Grandpa.
When they probably shouldn't have been watching Married with Children.
Al Bundy pushed P, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, Al Bundy pushed all the P, literally and figuratively.
Yeah.
Oh.
And on that note, thank you, Chris. Do you have anything you want to push, P or otherwise, before we get out of here?
I'm always pushing P. Come on.
It's easy for you at your age.
I hope we get like are there like products for older men that help them like
wait for it after this segment? Maybe.
No, like if anybody's listening out there that wants to sponsor the show with your P pusher product. Okay. Sorry, Chris. What do you want?
John could use it. Guy's 74 at this.
Right, listen, I will use any product you send me.
You'll turn 30 one day, Chris. Don't worry.
And I'll be half as old as John. All right. Yeah. All right. I know. So I will say, I always say the halftime show. And the reason for that is because I love the halftime show so much. It's so much fun. This season, it's been rough, a couple times given the on-court product, but getting to go through it with all of you guys being the listeners is the best and makes things a lot better. So I appreciate everyone who pops in and invite everyone who doesn't to skip the commercials and come hang out the KFS halftime show. Every game the Knicks play, I'm live at halftime. John's got you post game. And so it's a lot of fun. Yeah, answer some questions. I yell at whoever deserves to get yelled at, because this year there's always someone. And I beg to play IQ more. So that sounds intriguing to you. Come and stop by, and also make sure to stop by John's postgame.
Well, thank you, sir. Andrew, anything we forgot?
Not yet, but let's just say if you enjoy Kris Pursiainen's analysis on today's podcast, maybe around the time we were bringing up the draft, that maybe some news dropping in the distant future about Chris and potential draft analysis. More on that in the next time he's here.
More on that in the next episode of Married with Children. All right. There's a lot of Bud Bundy and Kris Pursiainen, by the way. Okay. Thanks.
Now I have to get on Google to see if that was an insult or not.
Yeah.
Spoiler Spoiler alert.
It's like someone telling me I look like Joffrey. Like, oh, all right, like.
Oh my gosh, you get told you look like Joffrey?
No, I get told I look like Ralph from A Christmas Story. But
okay, yeah, that
was just for the bit. John was saying.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Knicks Film School Podcast. We don't forget, if you're not subscribed, please do so. Check or leave us a rating, 5-star rating, a review, positive review. All these things help. We'll be back with more fun and games very soon.